over to you, Tiago, for your case study.
Hi, Henry. Yeah, thanks. Very exciting to see, the end of the project, not to see the end of the whole program, but it's nice to see it taking a life of its own in a way. So it's very exciting to show it also to you and to the world, actually. Cool. So let's go. We'll be talking to you about Drive and Arrive, which is the application I've been working on in the past 8 weeks. A little bit of a background story, and this will be the biggest text slide in the whole presentation. But think about when you're driving in city centers and how frustrating it is to spend so much time looking for a parking spot. This is also even more stressful when paying per minute if you're using a car sharing service, for example. So it would be great to factor in this extra time when planning a journey. And there could be an application that provides this information into how long it usually takes to find a parking spot in a specific area or street. This could be done by gathering traffic data that already exists to support this estimation. So with this, drivers will be able to accurately plan their journey times and to make decisions into what means of transport to use, for example. And this would not only save drivers time and money, but also make the whole driving experience much less stressful, and also improve the flow of traffic in inner cities, and ultimately also protect the environment. So through the last 8 weeks, I've been obsessing through validating the problem statement that drivers in big cities are spending time and money looking for a parking spot, so much so that it doesn't make financial sense to drive. In order to do this, the first objective was to validate that spending this time and money while looking for a parking spot is a real and acute problem for drivers, something that we call the problem market fit. To achieve this, I conducted 5 user interviews from a couple of user groups, car owners that drive at least once per week, and users of car sharing services that drive at least once per month. I then aggregated this results into acute problems, and I also validated some of my acquisition channels. Slack proved to be a good source of users for interviews, and even later on for testing also. Through my discovery calls, I gathered some insights, which I then aggregated and this allowed me to discover some of the more frustrating or bigger pain points for users, things like parking being stressful and wasting time and money. I then turned this into possible business opportunities. So helping drivers not to worry about parking and making parking quick and affordable, and also the desire to pre-book a parking spot. This helped me to then, or this informed the building first product vision. We help drivers save time and money with guaranteed stress-free parking, and the first draft also of the possible product strategy. We help drivers save time and money with stress-free parking by rebooking a parking spot at their destination. This then took us onto a second objective, where it was about really confirming that our assumption that helping drivers park stress-free and saving time and money was actually something that our users valued and would pay money for. This would allow us to achieve what is an offer market fit, which is a statement and provide them with a minimum viable offer. Minimum viable offer was composed of some of these results here, which was building a landing page with a clear call to action, which was a survey to which I onboarded 7 users. And I also validated market opportunities using differentiation canvases, which I will show in a minute. And ultimately, this validates the product vision. So to achieve minimal viable offer, I created a landing page with a call to action that would then take onto a user survey, which helped me to understand a little bit more of how some users felt about the problem, and also allowed me to have a bigger pool of interested possible customers, which I then contacted for user testing later. Using what is called a blue ocean strategy canvas, I gathered some possible competitors, some more direct than others, but the idea here is to gather some features or some things that some of these competitors do, and giving them a score, and from here finding possible opportunities that I would be able to improve on. And so I would really focus on some of this solutions. Using a product story canvas also really helped in defining who are the users and what their problem is, all the way down into how to take them into the success and ultimately their transformation, in this case from a stressed driver onto calmly moving from A to B. So in the end, I was able to validate the product vision that helping drivers parking stress-free and saving up to €1,000 and 40 hours per year. This was also supported by a case study, which I found on my research from 2017 that supports also this claim. The next objective was to validate the feasibility and viability of the product, and also to ensure that I was targeting the right customers and that this was actually doable. So I've used a lean canvas and a strategic roadmap. I also built a customer journey map and wireframes, which I will show now. So by using a lean canvas, I was really able to pinpoint to specify really what the problem is and what a possible solution could be. I also defined some key metrics, but most importantly, was really about stating the unique value proposition of the solution that I presented. It was also a very good look into some of the possible issues that would appear down the road, like trying to understand what is the advantage and also how to deal with the competition, for example. Also thinking a little bit about some marketing channels and defining possible cost structures, things like the development cost, server and database management, and so on, and identifying some of the possible revenue streams. Using an ideation workshop, I was able to identify some possible solutions to the problem and lay them out on an impact effort canvas. So with an impact effort canvas, I'm able to identify what would be areas that I could work on before others, and what is their impact from the user perspective. I created an initial strategic roadmap, which would be to create an application that centralizes all parking data that is spread across different platforms and different owners. I would measure this by the number of parking searches done by users. And then later on, being able to calculate travel time and create parking recommendations, and also measuring this by the number of cars parked using the application. And later on, start to implement further features like navigation and the ability to pre-book a parking spot, which I could measure by the number of parking spots pre-booked. At this stage, I also decided to buy the domain of the website and make further improvements also to it, and already updating with what was the prototype that I was building. From here, I built a customer journey map, which really helped me to inform what would be the wireframes coming up next, and really helped me to put myself into the shoes of the customer. So trying to really understand what is the customer need and how I could solve that need. So from there, I was able to build some wireframes, which I tested with one user, but actually in one of the program sessions, I was able to also get feedback from a lot of my fellow students. And this proved very valuable because I got the feedback, and I also understood very early on that simplicity was going to be key in this application. So essentially, I wanted to deliver value as early in the process as possible. And so around the second screen, I'm already delivering the value that I proposed to deliver from the beginning. So the last objective was to create a product market fit. So this was about validating that the core value of the product is to help drivers park stress-free while saving time and money, but really that do customers value this, and would they actually pay for it? So to achieve this, I built a Figma prototype, which I tested so far with 5 users. I have 3 more lined up for the next couple of days, and work on a product market fit engine, which I will also demonstrate in a minute, and work on an iteration and further testing. So here was the first prototype. I made a little screen grab of how the application looked like. So pretty simple screens, very clear and easy to use. Breakdown of the journey time. So not many steps. Some of the functionality is there. The navigation functionality isn't there. One can save the car location, which was an add-on, and then a little feedback of how long and how much money estimated was saved by using this application. From the user testing, I was happy to get the responses that only one of the testers would not be disappointed if they couldn't no longer use the application. So this was a very nice response, even though it was only 5, but it was still very good to see that feedback. So I then collected all the feedback from identified high experience customers, which are the customers that belong to the somewhat disappointed group. I gathered their general feedback here, and then the individual feedback from all the screens to where I had some comments. So this really helped me for the next iteration. I've built also a word cloud, which also demonstrated some of the good things, some of the things that I should keep on doing and focusing on. Again, the car location feature really got quite a lot of attention, and also the fact that the application is very easy to use. So this is the main point that I would focus on. Then some of the things to improve. In big, we didn't understand. I've seen that this is more to do with some of the steps in the prototype, like the navigation isn't there, so people got a bit confused. But I still take this as feedback in general.
Sorry, just a question.
Yep.
Do you also think, obviously, it's an artificial testing environment, right? So they didn't have, they would have seen the App Store listing, right, which would have given them some context. That might be.
Yeah, I tried to also explain a little bit at the beginning, but I also didn't want to bias them too much. So I just let the test go through. So, but for example, in this example here, it was very obvious that people didn't quite understand what the numbers meant and what the lines meant. So for that, that's the improvement that is now being implemented on the second version. So to have a bit more clear. So I still didn't blame just the prototype, but I also understood that maybe some of the functionality needs to be a bit more clear. So this is how the second version is going to look like. It's still not complete. I'm still working on it, but I still want to get a bit more feedback. But it's already this was the biggest, let's say, request or biggest bottleneck where people were getting a bit confused about the lines and the numbers. So quick roadmap. So on the short term, I would complete the iteration and do further testing. All the users were happy to jump on a second test. So that's really good. I would also like to start looking into gathering all the traffic data points and create a proof of concept for how to aggregate all this data. In the long term, navigation, functioning navigation will be something very important to work on. I've had a lot of feedback regarding to having a social aspect to the application, things like sharing where you're going or sharing where you park your car, or even creating a situation where people could tell other people that they are vacating a space, for example, or you putting yourself out there as looking for a parking space somewhere. And the much requested pre-booking parking spot, which could be easy to implement on private parking, but it would be very difficult to work on for street parking, but something that could possibly be done in some way. In the future, this could be a service added onto an existing service like a car share application, creating partnerships with private parking companies that would appear in the map. And of course, acquisition by a big competitor, let's say Google Maps. But yeah, there's others out there. Some of the constraints are the traffic data that is spread across different platforms and different formats, makes the scaling very difficult. Also, there's not data for all areas. So the full potential of this application is very difficult to achieve. Some of the key learnings from the whole project is really to understand who the customers are, what problems are we solving, and turning these assumptions into facts. Then understanding if customers will actually pay for this solution, if we are targeting the right customers, and eventually be ready to adapt and go back to discovery. So, but after this, we know that who the customers are, and that we're building the right thing for the right customers. And from here, we know that the business model is profitable, and we are therefore executing the business strategy. Some of the Some of the principles that I lead myself as a product manager: validate first and build second. If you don't have a goal, you don't have a feature. Always ship for impact or urgency, and feedback is king. This is one of my main principles. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Nice.
And
awesome,
yes, thank you also for. Should I stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing your screen. I'll talk to feedback. Yeah, it always a bit awkward as well when you can't see the presenter.
Yeah.
So you're speaking to nobody. Good. Yeah, really good presentation. Interesting as well to see some of the learnings along the way. I'm going to go through go through feedback on the case study itself, and then just some talking points for us, for you moving forward in terms of your product career as well. So first point, I loved how you introduced this story at the beginning rather than just the problems. It gave really good context. And I think the only thing missing, you could have put in bold some of those key points, like save drivers time and money, like you did with the MBO. Just helps sort of bring that out. But I really liked it. On the first objective, you did a really good bridging into this. So what do I mean by that? It was clear why that slide appeared. Right? It was linked from the previous slide to this one. So you give the context, and okay, so that therefore our first objective was X. And you gave good intonation, sort of emphasizing the key points. You did this with all of the objectives. So it's like, you didn't just go like, we wanted to achieve offer market fit. You said, okay, so next we wanted to, put in simple term, we wanted to understand whether our market wanted this thing that we were offering them. It's really important actually put it in simple terms, as you did. On the discovery calls, I liked how you talked through some of the examples, clear visualization, like hovering over some of those key points. These are the kind of stories and these are the only things that people really remember, right? Is one or two key examples from what a customer might have said. So always really important to highlight, visualize, or give examples in some way. Moving forward, you stated your vision, which was actually the strategy, because it was detailed in terms of, so just you might want to go back to one of those videos. What is the vision? The vision is that aspirational long-term goal. So in this case, it might be just helping people park stress-free. It's more likely actually to be, again, we want to think about, okay, what kinds of different solutions might we offer longer term? So Uber, for example, is making transport as something like as available as water. So they start with just the car service, but because of that broad vision statement, it means they can branch out into different things like delivery, the little scooters, for example. So the vision we need to give ourselves room to build very different products. Yeah. So in your case, that was a very good strategy. I really like the statement and how concrete it is with the amount of time saved, the amount of money saved. But just for your learning, really important. So otherwise what happens, we get stuck just with one product and we don't really know that's how companies end up with lots of random products that don't fit together. Yeah. Small detail there. On the lean canvas, I thought this was great. I love that you talked through the potential risks and highlighted these. I think one obvious one you didn't talk about though was feasibility challenges. Yeah. Which is, again, it's you did exactly the right thing with the process. It's like, as did Dropbox, right? It's like saying, okay, we know this is going to be complex to build, but it's going to be worth it if we can prove that there's people are interested in a prototype. Yeah. So as Dropbox did the video tutorial, you did the prototype. So it's completely the right approach, but just explain like, hey, we know this would be complex, but we still think there's lots of potential. In this case, there is massive potential, right? If you sell it, or if, as a service that potentially hundreds of millions of people could use. On the, the solutionize, so going from ideation to building, I thought was great. You gave nice explanations of what each thing was, like a customer journey map. You gave some examples, shared your learnings as well. A key one, for example, quote, I realized simplicity would be key. So that's a really key thing that you want the person listening to take away for them to understand. What else have we got? On the word cloud, so sometimes you at the beginning you linked the narrative very clearly. So it's like, you know, it was clear why you go from one slide to the next. At the end, it felt like you listed a little bit. So for example, you said, and then I did a word cloud, and here are the ideas. And I was like, okay, I'd have no idea where that word cloud came from.
I must have looked at the clock. I think I looked at the clock.
I'm sure. Yeah, I saw you looking a little bit more nervous. But, you know, really important, be really explicit. Right, so from that feedback we got, we created this word cloud. And then give, as you did, one or two, you know, for example, people felt what we did really well was simplicity. The thing that came up that we need to improve is, you know, A, B, and C. But yeah, I know, yeah, obviously it's a time limitation as well. I really liked your slide on the future, right? Because you showed possible paths forward. So as with a roadmap, it's really important, actually, we don't commit to an exact list of features. We're basically saying that we've thought about it. We know that we've got these options and these paths we're going to explore, but we're going to test and iterate and see what makes most sense. So very good there. Yeah, general points in the case study. I thought the storytelling was generally good. You sounded a little bit nervous in the second half. I think that's just a time limitation, right? We're trying to cram a lot in. Yeah. Obviously, you usually present all of that in one presentation. I think though one thing to improve upon is, again, this is an artificial environment, but just you're always selling as a product leader. That opportunity, you know, you're selling an opportunity as you would be pitching to investors. You're going to be pitching to stakeholders, or you pitch to your team to get them excited about that opportunity. Because they're going, right, if you're not, you know, if Tiago's not excited, like, why the hell am I going to get excited about this? Yeah. So you know, it's the small things, like always trying to influence and sell and really inspire people to get behind you and whatever offer you're presenting them an opportunity. So that's something to just keep working on. Good. I'm going to stop recording just for the personal feedback as well. Nothing bad, but